Hello, welcome to the September 25th, 2024 Environmental Management Commission meeting. We have quorum now. I'm not sure if a couple others are going to be joining us, but in the room, I'm Georgine Adams from District 9. I am chair, and on screen, at least in my order, we have Gonzalo Garcia in the room at Hilo, and nobody else, right? Is there with you, Peter?
It's us.
Okay. Gonzalo is with District 7. Then we have Lee McIntosh over there. Is from District 6. Below him is the commissioner, I guess, is below Gonzo, is Delatsuka from District 3. On at least my bottom row have Dot Norris from District 8 and Erica Perez from District 4. So that puts us at quorum, and the meeting is called to order at 9:08. Statement from the chair. Hi, guys. Great to have you back. We did an awful lot of conversation last meeting, and my apologies for being jet lagged and not entirely with the crew. But we're going to continue with conversations. Hopefully we'll get some more really good information and be able to move forward, especially on the permitted interaction group recommendations, so that we can wrap it up. And I'm hoping that we will get to hear from DEM's contractor Corolla. Oh, I want to make sure there aren't any other commissioners online, are there? I don't see any. Okay, thank you for that. Anyway, let's get going. The first item, oh, we got Jim Beats just showed up from District 1. Thanks for being there. The minutes from August 28th, our last meeting. Very long and involved conversation. Hopefully you had a chance to look at that. Would anyone like to motion to accept those minutes? Beats, have a second? From Dot, thank you very much. Any corrections, discussion, clarification on the minutes from August 28th? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes of August 28th, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, minutes are approved. So I did those in reverse order, and apologies. Are there any public statements on any of the items on the agenda? Any testimony? You can give testimony now, or you can speak at the time we cover the agenda item. Seeing any raised hands? I'm not seeing everybody, Peter, so has anybody else come in? No? Okay, apparently we didn't get any written testimony, and if somebody later wishes to make public comments, please go in the chat. It's probably the best place for us to see that you're there. So we'll move on to unfinished business, which is to work our way again through the permitted interaction group on cesspools and sanitation, the PIG, recommendations that we discussed in part at last meeting. And I just want to go over again So we did come up with a motion. It's in our agenda. You can see that resulted from the long conversation that we had over the very first recommendation. Basically, recasting the recommendation, dealing with public-private sewer lines and how close they need to be before you've got to hook up. And a more direct statement that DEM and county council are recommended to pursue legislative amendments to require connection to private sewer works when public facilities are not available. So that was our motion from last meeting that was approved. And I just want to make sure we okay with that motion. All right. And we can come back to it if we have some more discussion to go through. And Erica, I'm going to lean on you on where you want to put the emphasis on these recommendations. But one of the concerns I had was that I'm not sure we really talked about item I that the county should establish a connection fee for all new connections to a public sewer. Since we're going the direction of public or private, should be available or require connection. Are we done with that particular recommendation, or do we want to add new motion relative to a connection fee? Those of you who are on the PIG. Jim Beats.
I think those are two
Yeah,
separate
so-
recommendations. Yes, please. Go ahead.
So Georgine, were you, Jim Bates, District 1, are you suggesting a modification to the present motion or a separate motion?
I think it might be cleaner to do it as a separate motion.
I
But-
agree.
It does seem like it's a separate issue from you've got to connect to private or public if it's not available. So a motion. I can't make motions. One of you guys need to make a motion. Are you talking, Erica? You're muted. At least
I'm not.
can't-
I'm trying to organize my screen to where I can see multiple things at once, and I'm having a hard time functioning today, apparently. Sorry, hold on one moment.
Or Peter, would it help to put the document up, at least that section with the recommendations? Like we did last time, just so people can see them.
So I have it now. I think that one quick question that I have is, again, this is just for recognizing the fiscal challenges that we have to take care and maintain infrastructure. And this has been a recommendation I know that the county of DEM really, really supports and finds valuable to be able to afford future upgrades and existing costs. So in recognition that I believe, I know that Ramsey's on this call, but in recognition that DEM already acknowledges the need for this fee, would this be better addressed to our county council for them to support a sewer connection fee?
Are you asking for input from Ramsey?
I'm asking, yes, from everybody.
Well, I believe if I recall, and we may or may not hear about it later in the agenda, in the current draft proposal for changes on chapter 21 of the code would include a connection fee. So I think DEM's already got the plan to do it, and that it would be asking or supporting DEM and going to the council to get that approved.
Okay.
Is
That was my
correct,
thought process,
Ramsey?
but I just wanted to assure that that was correct.
Yeah, Ramsey, are you on? Are you listening?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, I am listening. You're correct, Georgianne. We have a consultant currently working on the rate fee study and the possible connections. All that's gonna be commingled with our master plan. Because there's gotta be a strategy of people already connected versus people already on cesspool gonna convert within the sewer service area. And the connection fees to the new subdivision and new developers. So it's gonna have different scale, different fees set up to allow grandfathering and the current people within the area, because it's not fair to penalize the cesspool people within the area to pay this hefty connection fees in addition to connection and conversion. So versus a new subdivision gonna come in, the connection fees could pass on into the new homeowners on the developer, and it become part of the finance for that new home versus having somebody to go get a loan just for the connection fee. So yes, to answer your question, it's in the work. We already got the vision of how we're gonna set it up. It's a matter of having the consultant to deliver. So we could put all that big roadmap for the county to be able to go before county council and before you guys, so you could review it and comment on it. But all these pieces are coming along.
So I guess the issue is for what our motion should be, if any. We're supportive of the idea of connection fees. And we will be able to have shots at the integrated plan, the change in the rules, and the specific ways that you're going to do the connection fee.
No, I agree. And I think, thank you. And I think that's very important to guys have you supportive, but also I want you to be supportive of the roadmap of how to implement connection fees. So to me, it's premature now because like I was saying, people gonna be grandfathered in versus people gonna come and develop and gonna pay. So, and that's gonna be, but I think definitely from a legislative point of view, we talked about it last time, it's trying to allow people that don't have municipalities within their sphere of connection, but they have private entity. To me, the law should allow private homeowners to connect to these big resorts or big private companies like American Water or Waikalua.
Which was the motion we adopted last time.
Yeah, and I think that would do it at this moment. As
Okay,
far as
so-
connection fees, wait till the consultant at least give us a draft so you guys could comment on the strategy of how we should implement the fees, because to me that's where it's important for you guys to
Okay,
advise on how the fee is going to be implemented and collected and who's going to be charged and who's not.
yeah, going to more of the detail. Jim Beats.
Yes, Jim Beats, District 1. This is a question to Ramsey also. So Ramsey, my question is this: are you suggesting that this should be a part of the code changes that you're working on?
Yes, that is definitely is going to be a code change, no doubt.
That's what I assumed. So one of our other potential motions was related to the support of the code changes. So I think that's covered.
Okay, so
Assuming
what
that
I'm
it's
hearing,
incorporated.
what I'm
Yes.
hearing is we don't need a separate motion on that item.
That would be my assumption, but
Yeah.
that's also assuming that it does make it into the code changes.
Right. Other commissioners, Del?
I have a question on the rate fees. So we're talking about Kilkaha and being exempt, at least for a period. Is there any consideration for the consultants to look into that when they're working on their plan?
Yeah, that's the reason, Del, I think you bring in a good point. That's the reason I said these people will be grandfathered in and we should not charge them.
Thank you.
That was my comment, is there's certain people that already been in the system. You don't want to overburden them with additional fees and costs, so. And that's gonna be part of the decision making, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I want to move on. We beat our horses really dead last time, so I'm gonna try to keep us moving. So on to item B. The recommendation was that county should conduct a formal legal review and interpretation of the Kono decision, outlining its application misuse for private sector partnership regarding county wastewater projects. We discussed this quite a bit last time, and I believe our conclusion then was that DEM is indeed pushing the envelope as much as they can to not let Kono get in the way. In addition, we asked for, and hopefully we will receive later, some comments that DEM has pulled together on how they have identified barriers, Kono in particular, but others in doing the integrated wastewater management plan that Carollo is going to present. It's kind of an appendix to their overall presentation. So we'll see if that one comes up. So unless anybody's dying to talk about Kono again. Oh, I see people dying. Okay, Jim Beats first.
Well, just a quick question. So Jim Beats District 1 again. The question that I've got is actually a council question, and that is, can the county council request a formal legal review and interpretation of Kono? Is that allowed?
Sinclair?
Yeah, I mean, so the county is it's a corporate entity, right? It's a municipal corporation. It acts through its duly authorized, forget what the word is, constituents maybe, but so from what I heard at the last meeting, Ramsey informed the EMC that there's already been a countywide investigation and interpretation regarding the parameters of Kono. I think the county council could ask any legal question they want of their advisor, but their advisor is Betsy. And Betsy would probably tell them, we've looked into this, this is what it is. And then there's also the separation of powers too, right? Like county council, they pass laws and policy. They're really not supposed to get involved in the nitty-gritty of the administration. So I kind of, to answer your question, Commissioner Beats, they could ask and they would probably be given the same answer that was given to the administration.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Erica?
I would like to ask anyway then. I mean, I think that if we're gonna have a motion that we made and adopted last meeting that looks at private-public facilities, engagement, partnerships, the continual barrier to those is Kono. So I feel that if we're going to adopt that particular motion that we adopted last month, that the next, a next follow-up to that is going to have to be more of an investigation into Kono that results in something substantial enough that it won't be referred to as a barrier consistently in moving forward. I think that it's fantastic, the movement that Ramsey has made with the administration in kind of pushing the envelope to get past the Kono decision in regards to wastewater. And I fear that if it is not done in a formal manner, a review specifically for wastewater, that it could just become another problem with a different administration. So I would definitely like to see some form of legal review. And that was also a recommendation from the EPA. So that was
So-
that has been recommended. I'm sorry.
No,
I wanted to clarify myself from the EPA. And so this was a recommendation during a Puuko community event in hosting national EPA, I'm forgetting my words right now, environmental finance committees. They're spread are all across the nation. And Puuko hosted several. The Kono decision came up as a barrier in those meetings with the Puuko community, and it was recommended at that meeting to have more of a formal review of the Kono decision through the wastewater lens.
so can I just say something real quick? So you guys are discussing the matter, so there should be a motion before you guys discuss. I mean, you guys are doing, there's a lot of leeway because you guys are advisory, but I just want to remind you guys, somebody should make a motion and then you guys can.
It sounds like, I mean, my question originally was, somebody want to make a motion. So Erica, you want to make a motion?
Sure. I'm gonna read, and so I don't mess it up. I would like to make a motion that our county council should conduct a formal legal review or interpretation of the Kono decision, outlining its applications for private sector partnerships regarding county wastewater facilities and projects.
And one more thing to add as you guys legal advisor. So Kono was a Supreme Court decision interpreting state law. So that's all state law. So if there's the way to change that is through state legislation. So that's the only way to change the Kono decision, in my opinion.
I don't think that we're asking for a change. I mean, I think it's being misused.
Right, and I think, and this is the final thing I'll say on this, misuse. So I don't think it's a use. I think it's a legal parameters for the county's ability to do things. It's interpreting HRS, water rights statutes, and what the limits of that are. And so as the county is required to comply with the law, right? Whenever any director goes and does something big, they consult their attorney advises them on the law, what they can and cannot do. Oftentimes there's gray area, they'll be advised about the risks of that, right? Because the client, the county, the authorized constituent, they're authorized, they have discretion to take risk, which comes with risk. But what was I gonna say about what you were saying? So I guess when I hear misuse, I kind of want to correct that a little bit. It's not, I don't think the county, in my opinion, from what I've seen, is like using Kono as something to hamstring themselves. I think the counties, from what I heard from Ramsey, trying their best through the consultation with HR and everybody else. And I think they've even involved the state and the other counties. I think I remember Mayor Roth creating some meetings to try to figure out how can all the counties, not get around Kono, but what are the parameters? What can we do and what can't we do? So I think if that's what you're asking, to kind of take another second look at it, I think it's fine to always take a second look at it for each specific thing that the county wants to do. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that to really modify what Kono restricts the counties from doing would require a state legislative amendment. And from what I've heard, Ramsey and everybody else saying is that there already is a countywide opinion on the limitations of Kono, but I mean, it's always, you can always recommend them to take a second look at that. So I'll stop talking, but I just wanted to give you guys that background.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the question back, so a motion's been made by Erica. There's some perhaps wordsmithing that we might do. For example, taking out misuse. If what you did, I didn't take notes, is exactly as the recommendation was stated. So whether we need to get a second on the actual motion that Erica made and then discuss changes, or just go take a vote as is. But I haven't gotten a second yet to her motion.
Question.
You have a question, Del?
Yeah, regarding that. If they went back to look at the reason Kono was even brought up, they would find the reason or the root of that, which makes it look now as if it was a misuse of government official to engage in something that was in violation of the rights of the civil service. People who historically and customarily did the jobs. So I think, you know, it's just a broad thing we threw out there, restricting us from doing stuff that we probably can do. So I think if we went back and we looked at it, we'd realize what happened to have that suit brought against the county. Yeah, so I think it was I'm not sure.
Not discussing the motion. I'm trying to get a second on the motion, then we can discuss it.
Oh, okay, I'll second.
So Del is seconding it. Now we can discuss that. And Dot, you had your hand up. Were you just gonna second, or do you have comment? You're muted. And Jim,
I was just
Yeah.
gonna second.
Beats,
Oh, good.
okay.
Jim Beats District 1, I don't know which version of Robert's rules we follow, but I'm ready for, to suggest a friendly amendment to Erica's motion. To address what council just provided, because I think we do need to modify it to a second interpretation, review and interpretation, however it's best worded.
Okay,
I can amend my. I can amend it to remove misuse. Should I do that? Should I make a motion to reword it? Is that what we're asking for?
yeah, Sinclair, Robert's rules drive me crazy. Can
Yeah.
she withdraw and amend?
Since you guys are so technical, since you guys have already talked about it, I think anyone can make a motion to amend, so you can just make a motion to amend your motion. It's basically making a new motion and voting on the amendment and then discussing it. So I think what you guys are trying to do is to ask the county, recommend that the county conduct a formal legal review of the Kono decision, outlining its parameters for private sector, outlining the parameters for private sector partnerships, specifically pertaining to county wastewater projects. Is that what you guys are trying? Is that kind of the
That's what
intent
I'm
of
hearing.
Commissioner Perez?
And could support.
And
Are you okay with that, Erica?
Yeah, I'm okay with just the word misuse coming out of it. I feel if that one word were to be removed, it sounds to me what I'm hearing that's the request or the recommendation.
Okay, Secretary, are you comfortable? You know what the motion is that we are now going to vote on?
It's in the recording.
I
It's in
can
the
say it
report.
again.
Please receive. Please receive the motion.
Please restate. I make a motion that the county should conduct a formal legal review and interpretation of the Kono decision, outlining its application for private sector partnerships regarding county wastewater projects.
Is there a second?
Second on that? Dell? Is a
Yeah.
second?
Second.
Any
So-
additional discussion? Let's have a vote. Do we need to roll call it, or are we okay with raising hands?
All in favor?
All in favor, raise your hand.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Any opposed?
Motion to amend passes, right? Or are we on the motion?
Okay, done it.
That's the motion to amend, and then now that the amended motion is on the floor, so you guys would have to vote on that.
I thought we were voting on the amended motion.
You're voting on the amendment of the motion, not the motion itself.
Okay. Vote again on the amended motion. That is without the word misuse. Everybody raise hands if you support. Dell. Are you opposed or do you support the amendment to take out the word misuse?
I agree.
Okay, all in favor then, no opposed. Dot, did you want to say something or you were just raising your hand? Okay, can we move on please to item C? Which is the county should support a sewer connection special fund to provide sewer connection assistance to homeowners who have insufficient income. Jim Beats.
Yeah, this is another question to Ramsey. Ramsey, this is Jim Beats, District 1, if you're available. Will a sewer connection special fund be in the new changes to the code?
I guess we need to make sure what the intent of that fund. If they talking about conversion is different than connection. So if the intent for that to set funds to assist qualified people to financially to convert their cesspool, that's a different than connection fees. The connection fees we talked about earlier, and the purpose for connection fees from industrial practices to allow for the expansion of the facility in the future. And that's when you have a new subdivision, try to connect to an existing sewer, then they gonna take some capacity of that sewer line. So you charge them for that capacity. And based on the current cesspool, if we want to assist them to convert the cesspool to sewer and abandon their cesspool is different than just you have a sewer line in front of you and you need to connect. So go ahead, Jim.
So
Yeah,
But either
But-
way, both of them is going to be in the code.
yeah, well,
Both
thanks for that clarification, Ramsey, but I think what we're talking about is just the establishment of a connection special fund. And it can be specified on whether that's going to be cesspool elimination and establishment of a new sewer connection, and also new connections from industry or any other purpose.
Yeah, and I think Erica remind me of, or somebody, wasn't last year Heather Kimball submitted through the state trying to set like $10 from each parcel to allow for the conversion or sewer connection fees that could go toward assisting the individual that not connected, but the fees will be collected from everybody. And I don't know if that even passed. So, yeah, so I just want to make sure we don't try something that failed. We need to learn of what failed and modify it to make it go through. And maybe that's something somebody could research what was done last year. And maybe maybe go ahead, Erica, you want to say something?
Is that the fee? Was that the cesspool fee? So I believe, and please Ramsey, correct me if I'm misunderstanding the ruling that the bill that you're talking about. But the ledge last year, there was a bill that was wanting to charge a cesspool fee, and that's just to existing cesspool owners to start to create a special fund for cesspool conversion. So essentially, the fee that cesspool owners, it was kind of also used as a social change strategy to get people used to paying for sanitation, instead of just having a free kind of cesspool. Charge $10 for cesspool owners, create a cesspool conversion fund that then those fees could go to help the affordability for conversion. And no, it did not pass. It was not passed last year. I do believe that, yeah, there's been kind of discussion of
Yeah,
it
and
coming back around this year, but I don't know if it will.
yeah, and that was the intent, Jim, to allow establishing fund to assist connection for not qualified, financially not qualified, or people that need assistance. But that kind of excluded the people that qualified. So the point of contention was a lot of people, why should I pay for somebody that gonna connect, but I'm not gonna connect? But our argument, you're gonna benefit environmentally. It's the environmental benefit to the entire island. So my recommendation would be, there is the thoughts being around for the last, at least since I started, through different committees, through different legislation. So I think if you guys would like to look at what was proposed last year and maybe modify it or propose something new that could become more robust, maybe that could help.
Well, the issue on the floor right now is the PIG made this recommendation as it's stated, and whether or not there's anybody wants to make a motion and then second it regarding the sewer connection special fund. If you want to make a different motion based on this conversation, or take action, like Ramsey is saying, is do some exploration of the, how can we make it more of a winner? Open to that, but question on the floor is, what do we do with this recommendation? Jim Beats.
Yeah, Jim Beats, District 1, Ramsey, clarification. My understanding and thought on this, and I remember our discussion within the committee, was that the special fund was important and maybe even necessary for you and future directors to have these funds available, because otherwise it's going to have to be a special allocation, correct?
Well, that's I think maybe the intent, or maybe what you trying to say is the enterprise fund for sewer. where you have the current rate payers pay into a certain fund that could stand alone from the general fund. So you could allocate and manage that fund from a department point of view rather than a county point of view.
In
Word.
effect, correct, without saying it's an enterprise fund. And
Yeah,
we could add an enterprise. We can add an enterprise.
I know. And currently, the way the sewer fund is set up as sewer fund, special fund. That's where it is designated now. So all the rate fee bears they pay their monthly rate fees and goes into that sewer fund. That sewer fund is technically controlled by the department to cover the O&M. But the challenge here is that fund is not big enough. That's why we always have to get subsidy from the general fund, because we don't have a lot of connections. We don't have customers.
Understood, Ramsey, but I think the clarification that we need is on the connection side, because our understanding was that you have a real issue with connections, not just regular operations and maintenance. So
Yeah,
can it all be one fund is I guess the bigger question.
Yeah, and that's what I mentioned earlier. We have a consultant looking at the logistics and the mechanics of what the fund is gonna serve and how it's gonna be established. To be able to grandfather people in without charging them the connection versus allow a new developer to pay for that connection. And that money will get collected and will go under the sewer special fund that we already have, but we'll have a different designation key fund number.
Thank you for that clarification, Ramsey.
Yeah. Hopefully it helped. Thank you.
I have
Yeah.
a question. Yeah. So because I take it the county has no specific funds for that, maybe we could initiate through us the idea to the public for the benefits of improved sewer connections down the line, environmental health, especially in areas like Kilkaha. We could maybe tie it in with funds from the federal and state infrastructures to alleviate some of the costs to the county. Could we do that?
Is that question to me? I'm sorry.
Anybody who wants to answer or who can't answer is fine. It's just that talking about doesn't help us get there. So I'm just saying, because we have no special funding for the sewer coming up, that we could propose to have one through the EMC and tie it in with federal grants or state funding to help us to alleviate the cost to the county so that we can at least establish some money for that when the time comes. We'll have more money to put into it. Correct? Is that a possibility?
I mean, from my point of view, but anybody else could add to it. I mean, everything is possibility. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing impossible, but the possibility of we have to be clear of what we ask and the legislative body to do, because I know during the cesspool conversion working group, we have some of the group members came from the financial institution within the state, and we're trying to figure out how we could fund some of these conversion or connections to a sewer. So the state acknowledged and very cognizant of the need to fund this dilemma that the entire state have and the Department of Health approved over the years. So, Erica, I don't know if I missed anything. I know you were a member as well, but That's my recollection. It was the finance aspect and the funding was a major part. And it really up to legislation to set aside money. And first they need to figure out where they're going to bring the money. I mean, we even talked about the possible of having environmental sewer fees or increase, taxes or, or any type of fee that we could, green sewer fees or environmental but I mean, all that has been around, Erica. I don't know. Have you seen anything come through from legislation, state level? It seemed like they don't want to deal with it. They keep kicking the can down the road. So many bills goes before them every year pertaining to either funding or cesspools, conversions and what have you. And it seemed like each one of them, it dies at the Senate.
So you think we could incorporate it into the budget planning to recommend that the fund be part of the county's annual budget or included in a special bond issuance, emphasizing the importance for the environmental sustainability and public health? Would that carry
I
any
think
weight?
that's a good idea, Dell, because actually that's what we're gonna end up recommending as part of the master plan, to do it based on increment of 10 million a year to allow us to construct a segment of the main trunk line to ease the connection to resident in the future by 2050. So yeah, if that'll be a good one where county council members or finance department maybe consider setting aside X amount of dollars to go toward rolling the wheel now to start planning for the 2050 so we don't get blindsided.
Lee McIntosh has a question.
We need a motion because we've talked about so many different topics at this feat. I am lost.
I agree. We're back, I think, trying to clarify what a sewer connection special fund is and whether we are in a position to make a motion to, as recommended by the PIG report, supporting a special fund sounds like DEM could designate a portion of their existing sewer fund to be a sewer connection special fund if they wanted to. But there's still the question of where's the money coming from? And we're kind of backing up to the whole issue of fees, which we decided in the previous discussion that we will deal with it when it comes to us in the specifics of the integrated wastewater management plan and the code changes.
Yeah.
So again,
Maybe
I'm
you
gonna
could
ask
tell-
the question, is there a motion to be made here? Do we need it? Is it ripe? And what are we really trying to affect a change for?
I may recommend that you guys tell that till you hear Corolla's update on the integrated waste water management plan to better understand the thought and the layout, and because the finance of potential projects that we need to do prior to the 2050 connection and conversion to all of these cesspools is going to be a major issue statewide, but also for our county. So we need to assist our constituents and we need to plan ahead. So my recommendation may be tell that motion till you hear what the consultant is what us and the consultant are working on. Because that way you'll have a better understanding of what need to be funded and then how we're gonna approach the funding aspect of it.
Del,
Yeah, I think that's true, but for me, it's good to know what's happening now with any updates so that we can make decisions now or recommendations now before we hear the almost final draft. But I would like to make a motion to incorporate into the budget planning through the EMC, recommend that the fund be part of the county's annual budget or included in a special bond issuance, emphasizing its importance for the environmental sustainability and public health. Is that too long?
I don't think there's a limit on motions. I think it's trying to get hold of what all you're including in there that we would be voting on.
To first incorporate into the budget planning for the EMC, to have a fund be part of the county's annual budget or included in a special bond issuance. Does that even say anything?
You're not saying what the purpose of the fund is for.
For the funding for the sewer fees.
Sewer fees for what? You
Based
have,
on what-
we have all kinds of fees. We have operation costs, we have connection costs, we have conversion costs.
So
This is
what,
where I'm getting lost.
okay, so according to the PIG, we're looking at ways in which we could help the residents by special funding. So this is all part of that. And I guess with what Ramsey said about the sewer funds now, which is sort of like an enterprise fund, that takes care of some of the O&Ms. So this is separate from that. This would be specifically for the fees on sewer hookups. How does that sound? Or maybe you can come up with a better wording for that, but it's specifically towards the fees for sewer hookups.
Jim Beats?
I believe Dale just clarified that. So this is, the last thing she said is for hookup, so connection fees and not operation and maintenance fees, et cetera. So, so I assume her motion would be modified specifically for connection fees.
Thank you.
Or maybe, Del, you could restate your motion, and then if there's a second, you can discuss it. If there's no second, then it would just fail.
Okay, if I could move to have the EMC recommend a fund or recommend, let's see, let me do this again. Move that the EMC will create a fund to be part of the county's annual budget, emphasizing its importance for environmental sustainability and public health towards, help me here. I just want to make sure that the EMC, I make a motion to move that the EMC create a annual, can I do this again?
Yo, can you also make a recommendation to support item C?
Okay,
Recommendation, C of the pig.
I move to support item C. With regard to the sewer connection special fund fees. Is that good?
So wait, just clarify, you are making a motion out of the statement in item C
Yes,
as it stands.
yes. But then,
Right.
what was that, Sinclair?
Oh, I didn't say anything, but I think
I said
Georgina,
what?
yeah, I think Georgina was asking,
more?
is your motion that the county should support it?
Okay, motion to accept C.
I think yeah, go ahead. You can do it a number of ways. You can just restate what's in C. I make a motion that the county should support a sewer, et cetera. Is that what you wanna make a motion, Commissioner Azuka?
Yeah, I actually want two then. For the county to move to have the county support the sewer connection special fund to provide sewer connection assistance. And another motion to have them include that in their,
Let's just do one at a time.
okay,
So is there a second to the motion of C, basically? And I see a second from Dot. Now there'll be discussion on that motion.
This is Commissioner
Start-
McIntosh.
Yeah, go ahead, Lee.
This is Commissioner McIntosh. From what I understand, I don't understand why would you ask the county to set up a fund to pay itself? Because the connection fee is paid directly to the county, and the county can just waive it if it comes down to it. And that's, the director was talking about grandfather and different things like that, and the updated code. So I don't see the purpose of this motion in creating this fund. Now, if you're giving money to help cover expenses outside of paying the county, like if they have to hire somebody private to do this work, to connect, I can understand that portion of it. But just paying the fee to the county, I don't know how much this fee is. Sounds like it might be a lot if you're talking about loans. But, you know, that it doesn't make sense setting up a fund, paying the county paying itself through this fund.
so thank you for clarifying that. It wasn't intended to give it back to the county, for them to be able to waive it. It was specifically for the people who couldn't afford to pay up the fees. So that money would be deemed for those people. So when the time comes, when it's time to hook up, then that would come from that special fund. So, and my case is Kilkaha, for instance. So although Ramsey didn't specifically say Kilkaha with the people being grandfathered in, that's who I'm representing. So, and this fund will go for everybody else who can't afford it. I mean, it's not, I don't think we'd be paying the county themselves. It's deemed for the people who cannot. It's just a special fund. Does that make sense, Lee? I mean, and even like you say, with any costs that come up aside from what's already in there for fees, that's what it would be. That is what it could be used for as well.
Jim Beats has a comment.
Yeah, Jim Beats, District 1, Dale and other commissioners, what I heard from Ramsey is a consulting report is going to address these issues and probably make recommendations. And so I think that will be addressed. I think I would prefer to table this and see what the consultants are providing so we can really, dig into this and suggest appropriate measures. So my question to Ramsey is when will a draft of the consulting report be available?
Jim, thank you for asking that. Sorry, Ramsey, but
Yeah.
that's my concern too. It's like waiting to hear or see what they have to say is kind of hard, because really they should have something for us now. I mean, I understand it's just going through the process, but to see what they have so far will help us better not have these questions raised at these meetings, That's for me, because I don't know when we'll hear it. And then from then, we're buying more time to discuss the recommendations. So it's good to have an update now so we can kind of see where they're at. And yeah, let it go and not ask any more questions later on because we know where they're at. But, thank you. I appreciate that.
Other comments from commissioners on the motion? I'll throw my 2 cents in. I too would like to see the plan. This is so complicated to come up with how we fund this and what we call it. I think I would do much better if I had an outline of what is being considered. There isn't a single bullet, a single pot of money that all comes out of. So we need to see more of the detail. And I'm prefer to defer this. Anybody else? Dot, Erica? Gonzo?
I am interested to know when the report is going to be released, or the draft report. I think that I'm really kind of struggling with this because I really hear the intention of wanting to wait for the report, and I also gravitate towards that. I also understand that there's roughly 55,000 cesspools on Hawaii Island that are going to need to be converted, and they are going to cost money. And there are people that are not going to be able to afford it. And so I don't think those things are debatable. And the faster that we're able to start to secure funds, the faster we're able to start to tackle the 2050 deadline of conversion. So that's kind of where I'm sitting, of just like in this middle of, we know that there's going to be a huge budget. We know that things are going to need to be converted and transitioned to alternative technologies outside of cesspool. And we don't have funds right now at all set up to be able to do this. Ramsey is correct. The state, if you talk to state ledge officials, they feel very strongly about not wanting to support cesspool conversion directly. And at some point, there does need to be a fund that's set up to be able to help us progress in that direction. I do want to see that done thoughtfully, though. So I also understand wanting to wait for a report.
Gonzo?
Yeah, this is Gonzalo Garcia, District 7. I would support tabling or deferring C until we have a better view of what's proposed. I think it's important that we kind of listen to what Ramsey was saying about that. And I think if we've got the consultants working on it and they're preparing this thing, we should lean heavily on what they're doing. And then if we object to it, then create our own. But if they've got the right thing in place, then we should support it. So I think absent that, I would support tabling.
Dot, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just have a question, is when is this report will be available? Have they got a schedule to actually put it out? And also I'm in favor of tabling it till then, but I really would like to know when, essentially.
So Ramsey, you're on the hotspot.
Yeah, there's no hotspot. To me, it's very clear. I think this is part of the director's report, and staff will share. Chris, I think he's online and he could share the timeline that was given to the consultant. There's no hotspot about it. We're being transparent. The idea of always circumventing studies and report is highly recommended, because how would you having difficulty even making a motion because it's so complex subject. So Del, if your idea, let me intercept the studies and do something without understanding what that something is.
I'm not trying to
have a
intercept.
hard time putting the motion together. So all I'm saying is get the facts, then make the decision based on the facts and the numbers.
Asking you for the facts. I mean, I can only ask and speculate, but we know nothing else than what you tell us. And
what I'm telling you is we're doing studying with our consultant. Take
So
it
how
to
long
its
has this been
value.
going on?
Hey, time out.
No.
We do have on the agenda under the director's report, although I'm seeing some equivocal stuff coming from the chat room. we will have a presentation on the integrated wastewater management plan. And we'll get some information there. It won't be all the information. This is incredibly complex. And obviously, those of you who are on the PIG and studied this and the conversion work group before that, it's not simple stuff. So what I would like to do is to go ahead and have a vote on this motion to adopt item C pretty much as written. Can I do a roll call? Peter? Oh,
Speaks.
So you want a roll call on the it's seconded,
on the motion.
correct?
Right.
Okay. Could you read the motion again, please? Hey, oh, it's as stated in here,
As
correct?
stated, item C.
At this point, no.
Okay, next.
No,
Mr. McIntosh,
Nay.
Ms. Otsuga,
Yay.
Ms. Perez,
Um. And I abstain.
Doris,
I abstain as well.
Chair,
No. We will come back,
one ayes,
promise.
1 nays, 2 excuse, abstain, and 1 absence.
Okay, moving right along speedily, as we always do. Item D reads the county should support and encourage the county council to adopt the chapter 21 county code changes proposed by DEM. Jim?
Yeah, Jim Beats, District 1. I'd like to make the motion that the EMC encourage the county council to adopt the chapter 21 county code changes proposed by DEM.
Do I have a second?
second.
Second from Gonzo. Discussion. I will throw it up myself. We don't have one.
Right.
I'm gonna support something that I have not seen. I mean, I've seen early
Same.
drafts, but it wasn't complete.
It's a good one.
Same.
Anybody else? There's a lot of devils in those details.
So you're making a motion to support something or for the council to adopt something that hasn't been completed yet.
Reviewed by this EMC.
Why make that motion when we haven't? It's not even finished.
Jim Beats.
Yes, I would like to withdraw the motion at this point until we see the final draft. I have reviewed the draft, and I'm pretty good with it. It is premature. I withdraw the motion until we receive.
Okay, do we need the seconder to agree to that?
I would support that.
Okay, all right, we're moving on. That is actually our agenda item number 3 under this section of unfinished business. So maybe we'll learn something shortly. The next one is the county should identify the potential for EPA technical assistance program to address innovative financing strategies such as enterprise funds, franchise organizations, energy saving performance contracts, and service contracts. My recollection from reading the minutes of our last meeting was that DEM is doing some of this, but maybe not all of it. The information has been provided to them. Do we need a motion to strongly encourage them to do this? And if so, make it.
I make a motion that the county DEM should work with EPA Technical Assistant Program to address innovative financing strategies such as enterprise funds, franchise organizations, energy saving performance contracts, and service contracts.
Is there a
Jim
second?
Beats, I second.
Okay, second. Any discussion? Seeing none, have a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? No? The motion passed. Just do it, Ramsey. Last one is the county should support a water technician certification program to address the workforce shortage. Could we maybe get a little explanation of that recommendation, Erica, or whomever?
This is really just was brought up to support workforce development and training with innovative technologies. So we can get on a path forward to be able to have the appropriate workforce to be able to use appropriate technologies that will kind of bring down costs and affordability for the state or for the county.
So this water technician certification program is a thing already?
It is a thing.
Okay.
It is a thing.
And the pig has looked at it and said it's a good thing?
So there's a number of different new oh, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, so my memory on this, and Ramsey can clarify as well, is that there's existing water technician certification program. It sounds like there is a greater need to support the existing one and look at additional programs for workforce development. That's my memory, Erica. Maybe Ramsey can clarify that, unless you have more memory than I do on that topic.
So
I think it was pretty straightforward. Yeah, just wanting to support a workforce, the needed workforce to be able to. It is a gap that's been identified by the Accessible Conversion Working Group. It's a gap that's consistently discussed in these meetings of having the workforce available to maintain infrastructure and sanitation projects. And so anything to be able to assist kind of advancing workforce across the county, that's what this was intended to do.
okay. A motion? Jim Beat?
Yes, I'll try. The EMC requests that the county and county council support the present and additional water technician certification programs to address the workforce shortage.
I second.
Erica? Any
Mhm.
further discussion?
This is Commissioner McIntosh. So is this like training for existing employees, or are you training potential new employees?
Should be for both.
I feel it should be for both. Again, I think that continued training for, current county staff with new technologies is needed. And we need additional workforce. So we need new people also going through these certification programs.
Yeah, and Lee, just for clarification, when this was discussed before, I think it was Ramsey that brought up there are present staff members that want a higher level certification so that they can apply for other jobs. So it would be for existing staff and, future employees.
And I think the motion covers that. Any other comments, questions?
Georgine, hi, this is Nicole Larson. I've been lurking on this call and I apologize. I can't show my face. I wasn't planning on saying anything, but I do have something to contribute on this topic real quickly, which is that I've been to multiple conferences in the mainland about different types of sustainability priorities on large scale infrastructure projects. And I have seen successful model of a high school vocational program where the students, as part of their training, either as a career-based learning program or at the community colleges, would be as part of the course, they would end up with that certification that would provide a direct, workforce right out of high school, say. So there are certainly models in existence that we could modify for the county. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole, for that public testimony. So back to this motion. Is there any additional discussion by commissioners?
Well, I know the county had in several departments adopted the VISTA program. And as mentioned before, HCC has programs, the university has programs. But the VISTA program is kind of, it's active within the county. Maybe we can look into that.
Is that pertinent to this motion?
For the help, yeah. Training, having a workforce.
Erica, is your hand up?
Is there a need to include the language around kind of innovative technologies? I don't really want that to fall off or to be lost in translation. And so when I think of this, it is definitely working with the existing programs, but also allowing current county employees as well as future, workforce development within innovative technologies.
Jim Beats?
Yeah, Erica, that's why I was trying to keep it, concise and brief. So I said present and additional in my motion. I think that covers it unless you want to be more explicit.
Yeah, I heard you say the word future, but I have been interpreting myself there.
I think I said present and additional, but if I
Additional,
misspoke, I think additional would be a better term.
okay.
Yeah. I'm
The
good with that. I
secretary
just was
will-
asking. Yeah.
Are we ready to vote? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Bye.
Del,
Abstain.
you're abstaining, okay. Any opposed? I don't think anybody was left. I believe that passes the motion, correct, Secretary?
Correct.
Okay, I'm gonna move off the pig. You can bring back issues after the director's report gets us there. There is a request that Laura Casio had been trying to get discussion of I&I. She's not on the call, right? I don't want to have a discussion on this without her being here, so I will defer and ask that if there is any kind of written report that you have now, wastewater division, please copy it to her. But I'll bring this back for the next meeting when she can attend. So moving on to item 3 is a discussion of the working draft of the proposed new chapter 21 on wastewater management. So can we have a status report on that? Chris, thank you very much.
So, yeah, thank you guys for your patience and your support with this measure. So currently, We are working on the requested revisions. You know, we're really trying to incorporate the request for, you know, identifying how we're going to handle the, you know, connections within the service area. Also working to identify the areas that overlap and the necessary needs for implementation of the integrated wastewater master plan as well. I just wanted to, for the team as a whole and those here in this meeting. So the county code is really, I would say, from the civil's perspective, is a rough grading tool. It gives the county the jurisdiction to implement certain things. It doesn't mean we have to implement everything, but it gives us the capability to do such. Then the administrative rules that will follow the county code will be all the particulars. Essentially that would be your, you know, that would be the final grade of your roadway or whatnot. That would tell me I can charge X fee when, you know, at certain triggering events and all those fine, you know, details. So I just, in as we're also within the county code working to, you know, iron out the particulars of the pretreatment requirements. So that's where we are. I don't have a revised draft at this time for the team. We anticipate, you know, we'll likely see a revised draft, you know, after the election is finished up in November. And in terms of trying to coordinate with everybody's schedules and get, you know, time with corporate counsel and all those, you know, all the folks within our division and department. So that's the update that I have for the team. Does anybody have any specific questions or concerns?
I'll just make a general comment as a former employee of EPA. The level of detail in the code is beyond my imagination. I think a lot of it belongs in administrative rules that will allow for more fine tuning without going through the agonizing process of having 3 readings with the county council who really don't know anything about wastewater management. But so be it. Good luck. I may or may not be here to comment as EMC if it's not around by the time of our next meeting in November. So good luck. It's tremendous amount of detail and complexity. So I just encourage you, when you've got draft language that you'd like feedback on, give it to us sooner rather than later, so that we've got time to really look at it.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Okay. Time for bio break. I'm going to take 5 and we will resume with the reports and correspondence section of the meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Okay,
Peter.
Welcome back. Thank you, everyone. Our next item is to move on to reports and correspondence first up is the correspondence from Wilson Okamoto regarding the availability of the draft EA for Nalejo large capacity cesspool closure project. The public comment period ends when? Soon. Tomorrow? I don't know, there's too many things open for comment right now. Peter, do you know when the comment period ends? Or is somebody else there?
Yeah, it's gonna be October 21st.
Say what?
He said October 21st.
Oh, okay, thank you. October 21st. So you've got time, people, to read it and submit comments if there's something that you've already spotted that you want EMC to comment on. It tracks pretty much with the one that was done for Pahala. I just have one question, which was kind of both on Pahala and Nalehu. The recommended option is to put in a package plant and then buried subsurface drip lines to discharge the treated water. I understand Pahala's got a magnet tree farm where it's going to be dug into. And just I don't think that the state will let you collect those nuts and use them for food. But I don't know anything about Nahalehu area, and the picture, fuzzy picture that's in the report, it looks like it's just kind of scrubby land where it's going to be buried. Does anybody know? No, it's just a question
This
of
is Commissioner McIntosh. From what I was shown, it's open ranch land right now.
okay.
It's next to the Nalehu Hangwanji, that field behind the what's it called? The water well or pump station, whatever. So it's just a bunch of cattle there right now.
You know, I'll let somebody else get back to me on that question of just, you know, trying to think of, okay, what's the life cycle? Where's stuff going? And, you know, how are we managing the land that's on top of the drip lines? And if there's nobody from DEM to comment on that, I'll leave it by. Dot.
It really depends on the level of the treatment on the water, whether they can reuse it for agricultural purposes. And I need to review it a little more, but I have a feeling that if it's going into a magnet farm, that they should be able to harvest it if the water is treated to the appropriate level.
Ramsey, do you know what they're doing with the nuts?
Yeah, that's a good question. What they doing with the nuts? Just the Department of Health have a guidelines of the R1, R2, R3 applications. So anything we end up doing, it has to meet the guidelines of the Department of Health. That's number one. Number two, you could irrigate magnet, almonds, pistachios, any type of food consumption, as long as it doesn't touch the ground. Subsurface drip line will be adequate. And the way you process such nuts. As far as the magnet that at Pahala, our landscape architect looked at it And due to the lifespan of the remaining trees and the age of the trees, and based on the uptake of the roots to the nutrients, they were not adequate. So part of the project, we're gonna cultivate the entire land and grow some different type of crops and landscape that is tolerant to the effluent and be able to absorb the nutrient, which is the nitrogen and the phosphorus. So all that is part of the design. Like I said, it's a complex, but we do look at every possibility. I mean, I thank you, Georgianne, for your email. I 100% agree with you about the nuts, but we looked into it, and the nuts and the trees need to come out for that project because the uptake was minimal, and the age of the trees it's not going to allow us to become sustainable. So it's best for us to clear the land and start with a new grass or some type of grass or plants that our landscape architect now looking at it, considering the nutrient within the effluent to balance the uptake by the roots.
And then a Nahalehu, is that, I mean, if I
It's
read
the same concept.
Apollo right, it was gonna be all fenced in. Is the Nahalehu area gonna be still cattle feeding ground?
Yes, it could be. It's going to be fenced in from the public, so there's no access to the public, so we have to fence it in. So and yes, you could grow animal feed with R3. You don't even need R1 or 2.
Oh, okay.
And that's as long as it's not a human consumption. So the guideline within the Department of Health for reuse is very clear. And as long as we follow also Title 22 in the process. So there's a lot of regulation from EPA and the Department of Health on how and what you could use with different process and different treatment.
Okay, thank you. And again, just, it's open for comment. I'm not sure that EMC has anything officially to say from our group, but individually, you're more than welcome to send in comments. Dot.
Yeah, are we considering native plants in the replacement of these other plants? I would like to see us not introduce any more invasives.
Yeah, this is number one priority, of course. You don't want to introduce anything that is going to be invasive and create a nuisance, because we don't want to create something that become maintenance problem or neighboring issue problem. So yes, what we consider is something that native to the island and something that also could be used for cattle feed, since Nale is all surrounded by cattle. It could be good to offset some of that land to allow for cattle feed, animal feed. So whatever they love to eat, that's what we gonna concentrate on as well. It's all up to the balance of nutrient and the uptake.
Erica, you had comment?
Yeah, thank you. I love that idea. I think that that's super cool, Ramsey. Anything that can be circular economy style and stay in Hawaii and bring more resources is a really cool process. How is financing coming along with Na'alehu and Pahala? How is the financing structure organized and the cost to homeowners for this transition?
Not only on that, Pahala is zero cost to the homeowners. It's, this agreement was done by C Brewers when the county took over the wastewater system. So both communities have zero impact on each homeowner. It's solely performed by the county funds through general obligation bond or state revolving funds.
So they'll just be kind of brought into the regular kind of schedule fee.
They already pay schedule fees. They already on the sewer rate.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, moving on, Director's Information Report.
All right. Sorry, I was multitasking. So let me just open the report.
Well, while you're looking that up, I was going to comment on, as far as legislation goes, one of the things that Peter and I were looking at was for the motion we passed last time, supporting private and public, was there a way to tack it on to the package that went through council, missing the date, earlier this month, for the recommended legislative changes package that's going to be going for review on October 2nd, I think is, or maybe it's the 5th. Peter can correct me. Anyway, so there's another council meeting coming up where they will accept, presumably, or amend the recommendation from the committee to ask for the following state legislation changes. There used to be in the initial draft a place that would fit just right. They dropped that and changed it so that the only mention of cesspool in that package right now is with regard to treating for nitrogen. So there isn't a neat place to put it. One of the things, since we passed some more motions, I think, again, if you'll allow Peter and I to try to gin up what we would send to council on the recommendations, the motions that we've passed regarding the pig. But I'm not sure we can hang it on a specific resolution that they've got. Unless you know different, Ramsey, are you going to be asking for some changes and what they're going to adopt as resolution 630?
To be honest with you, I haven't even got that far. I need to sit down with Peter and go over these type of legislative updates, and because this is our opportunity now. This is the time that we need to start thinking about what we need to submit to our elected official and see who's going to be able to sponsor such legislation. So, and that's where you guys come to play as an advisory committee. We talked about we may need legislative changes, to allow hooking up to a private waste treatment plan, because that needs a legislative change through Chapter 1162 through the Department of Health, but it has to come through the state. And then it goes back again, if we need to review what was submitted as far as sewer fees or cesspool conversion fees, and see if we need to reintroduce it again. And any other thing that you guys would like to advise, and maybe we could start reaching out to these to those elected official and see if they wanted to sponsor such a bill.
Well, as I understand the timing, and you've got Peter there who understands all this process. I think our window's pretty short for this coming session. Relative to Hawaii County Council sending a package over. And we could shoot for something early October. Like I said, what I think we'll put together the motions that we have passed. But I'd be surprised if it got incorporated into the package. So we may be looking at next year. I know. Erica.
Quick question for Ramsey. How, I know, I can't remember when the conversation was, but I know that there has been some conversation of potential of basically like identifying us as a state that's in need for cesspool conversion because we have so many, and kind of tackling it as a state issue. So all, you know, we could, instead of tackling it by home or homeowner or by county, but look at some process to where we could have it as a statewide, you know, cesspool initiative for conversion and seeking funds for the entire state. Is there any kind of traction with that you've discussed with anybody, Ramsey, or potential of us like stepping in as the EMC to be able to support that kind of a concept?
Yeah, I think council member Heather Campbell, she's now being you know, the chair for, you know, counties and state groups. Maybe she could, and I know she's very interested, and she's the one who authored that bill last year. So now with her position being the chair, maybe that's something will be good from you guys to shoot to her. Maybe that's something will be good because I know she'll be willing.
Okay. Maybe is that something that we could have potentially packaged in time for this year? I feel like it is, but maybe it's not.
Peter, how is our timing? I thought we have time because I remember a prior
I
bill.
thought we did too.
Yeah, it was like December, I thought, or late November.
Hi,
Yeah.
Peter, sir. So what resolution 630 is doing is going to recommend that the Hawaii State Association of Counties include various bills, priorities in the HSAC legislative package. Once this resolution is approved, it will go to the HSAC legislative committee, which is composed of members of the designated members of each county council. They'll then vote on the items, and those that make it through will go back to the other counties as a new resolution for approval of the legislative package, approval by all councils. And then items that pass that hurdle will be probably sent to the speaker for introduction as a bill or as a series of bills in the next
So Peter,
legislative session.
since
This was in
Heather
January.
is the chair for that HSAC, if I understood you right, so she's trying to take that responsibilities to the counties instead of what Erica is recommending, maybe pass it to the state where the state could take all the accessible issue trying to fund it.
Eventually, it's whatever passes is going to be introduced as a bill in the legislature. So this is one step in the process.
But I hope the bill doesn't be approved where the county now on the hook without the state understanding we need the fund from them. So maybe, Erica, we need to review that and maybe get a
Mhm.
hold of Heather and understand, maybe we get a Zoom meeting with her.
Yeah, I think that that would be fantastic. To at least sit down and talk with her and see if we could get something for this session.
And I know also Nicole also presenting another act. I forget the number of it.
Okay.
But yeah, we need to. So Peter, from a new legislation for next year, what is the deadline?
I can't speak to that, but probably now would be a good time to work on legislation.
Okay.
There
So
legislators
do you think we have time to be able, if the commission work on certain language on legislation and we able to sponsor some elected official to take the lead on it, we have time, correct? Till December, maybe?
There's time. There are legal issues with county EMC directly recommending to.
They advise, they're not gonna
Right.
recommend.
But
But
our advice,
if you
what
know
we've been
some
told by council, I know Sinclair's still on, we get to advise our county council. We
Right.
do
And if-
not get to advise the state legislature.
If there are some friendly legislators, you can ask them to introduce bills directly as well.
Yeah.
Well,
So
if you guys,
can we review what that all means? I'm sorry, I just want to be super clear in my understanding.
of who we can advise? Or,
Well, just I mean, I can take on next steps to talk to Heather Kimball and to do that. I just want to make sure that what hat I'm wearing when I do it.
well, I think, I'm trying to
Don't
remember,
ask
I
me
don't
for
know
legal
that we ever
advice.
had a formal motion
So
that approved the recommendations from the cesspool conversion group. There's a whole slew of legislation, most of which went nowhere at the state legislature and keep getting brought back. So presumably there are some bills that are still semi-conscious that can be brought back this coming session. I don't know if we need to have another, formal motion out of EMC to say, from us to the council, we support the recommendations of the cesspool conversion group for legislation at the state level to enable us to get this conversion going now and completed in time. So I don't know.
Yes, I think that we should do that. And this is not a recommendation that's going to be found in those lists of recommendations by the cesspool conversion working group. So I think it's two different components. I agree with you, Georgine, like anything that the EMC can do to support cesspool recommendations going forward and actually passing at the ledge, or that we can implore our county council to assure that those things happen. I think, yes, we do need to do that. I guess that my question was to Ramsey, which was a little bit different because the question about the state kind of hooing together and tackling this as one like cesspool issue across our state is a different recommendation that you also will not see in the cesspool conversion recommendations that were put out.
Is that a motion you want to make now, or do you want to do some homework with Ramsey and Heather?
Yeah, maybe I'll do that and then I can report back.
Okay.
Or you know, we can put it on next month's agenda. If we think that we have time, I would, you know.
And just to clarify once again, yeah, Georgine, you're correct. The Environmental Management Commission has authority to advise DEM and the council on certain issues. County council. Reminder.
So you
Okay.
said that we can't address the state directly?
As the EMC.
As a commission, yeah.
Yeah, not as a commission. You can go, you know, in your personal capacity and lobby or not lobby, but, you know, provide your public comments, or, you know, if you want to go talk to your state legislature about something, yeah, obviously you can do that, but the EMC as a group only has authority to issue recommendations to the DEM and the council.
Can I ask a clarifying question? If DEM had this as a recommendation, then could we like support DEM in trying to make it successful?
I'm not sure what the, sorry, maybe I don't understand the question, but maybe I do. You could ask DEM, you could advise the department on anything really. I mean, anything that's related to their programs and what they do. So if you, what are you trying to do? What are you thinking of doing? Or what do you?
Well, I am trying to support this concept of a larger statewide effort. And so this concept is not my concept. I mean, these are numerous conversations. Ramsey has been involved in some of them. I think that this is something he does support, right? I don't want to speak for you, Ramsey, by any means. So please, you know, chime in. But if there is a way that we as the EMC can support our DEM in assuring that the state can support cesspool transition at a larger scale, will make it more affordable, will make it easier for counties to be able to go in the right direction for cesspool conversion by 2050. And so I am just basically just asking, because we're talking about the ledge and bills, that's why I'm bringing it up now, is how can we support that? How can we support DEM? How can we support Ramsey? Does Ramsey still think that this is an initiative that would help us as the county of Hawaii move forward with the 2050 goal of cesspool conversion?
So like you guys can make comments and recommendations to DEM, and that could include, you know, I don't know exactly what it is, but, you know, we recommend that DEM support bill whatever in the state legislature. So your comments would be to DEM, and if DEM chooses to, they can go and provide comments, you know, regarding certain legislation and say, you know, in whatever process DEM has, I don't know if they have restrictions on, you know, and every administration is different regarding how they conduct, I guess, communications with the state legislature as departments. I don't know, Ramsey, if there's rules or policies or procedures on what, you know, when Ramsey as a director can go and say something to the state legislature or not. But if this is just hypothetical, if there was a bill regarding cesspool conversion and the environmental EMC thought, oh, that's a good bill, we would like DEM to support that bill, that would be your recommendation to DEM. DEM, if they follow whatever procedures they have regarding state legislature, you know, they could mention that in their testimony, you know, we support this bill and it was discussed at the Environmental Management Commission, which also supports this bill, you know, they can relay that. But the communication has to be through, basically the EMC cannot communicate directly with state legislature. They have to run their communications through DEM, and then DEM decides, how to use that accommodation.
Maybe the better question is, can EMC submit testimony? Written
No.
testimony.
Yeah, not as the commission.
So they cannot,
Individuals can.
but as individual they could, right?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, it's a constitutional right.
I think that's kind of addressed the supporting question. You support a bill through testimonies. And if EMC cannot submit written testimony, then it has to be individually. But the county or county council members, but we do have procedure. You ask if the department, yeah, we go through the administration, through the mayor's office. Jean in the mayor's office, she coordinate all legislative matters that comes before the administration. And each director pertaining to the area, they either support or decline, and they give reasons, and so there is a process. But yeah.
She's the legislative liaison for the mayor's office. Is that who she is?
Yeah, Jean.
And then, EMC can also ask county council to, pass a resolution supporting something. I think that's how county council communicates with the state legislature. I don't know, Ramsey, do you know more about that? How they?
Yeah, I mean, so it's kind of, sometimes we get it through county council members, or state legislator themselves, that they reach out to us, they need support, and then we call Jean, and it's kind of coordination effort. So it could come from, House reps to state senate to county council, and vice versa. If the county wants something, we'll reach out, for example, to Tim Richards and say, hey, we need your support in this. So there is that work effort, but it still has to go through the mayor's office of advising him of what we'd like to see happen through his liaison.
Right.
And I think what I would like to move us along, because we've got some juicy stuff I want to hear about. Erica and Ramsey are going to do some homework. If you want to come back and say, these are the bills that we want to support or the issues, then we can address that at our next meeting and get word to the council. I think we are long on record, whether formal motions, but certainly in support of all the attempts to deal with the cesspool conversion project. We've been kept up to date by Peter whenever new legislation is coming in during the massive program of which bills are moving where and who what. We've been on top of that, and we've been supportive. And if this new initiative gets pulled into bill form, which my impression from looking at this last package that Heather was sponsoring, they like to tie it to a bill, a draft bill. And so if there is one that we can go, yeah, this, or whatever our opinions may be, that would be helpful. But I think right now, it's more the sense of the EMC is go for it, Ramsey, and pull every string you can figure out. Any other comments, or can I move us along? The next area is solid waste division projects and update. You've got the package on green waste that was developed. I don't know if there's any new news out of the recycling group.
Yeah, hopefully we have Craig or Mike, any of my solid waste.
Yeah, so just wanted to add that we had our household hazardous waste collections in August 3rd was a kilo, 1,875 gallons of used motor oil was collected. And on August 17th in Kona, where 643 gallons of used motor oil was collected. And then we have our first tire collections event on the 21st at KL Middle School. 472 customers of vehicles, and about last count was 23 roll-ups of tires was collected. Maybe about 5,000 tires total. So we're waiting on the final count and tonnage. It was short but crazy day.
Thank you. The solid waste operational study, where are we?
Shelley's?
Hello, please. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. So, solid waste operational analysis was submitted by E2 on August 22nd. Our team has reviewed the document and has provided our comments back to E2. In summary, while there were some components of the scope of work that were met, there were quite a few that have not been met. And so we've submitted it back to them with our comments and pretty much added to the scope a second draft that will need to be submitted to our executive team on October 4th. The goal here is to allow some time for EC to implement the corrections and correct any inaccuracies that we've identified before anything is brought to the director to EMC.
So I hear October 4 is the next draft you expect to get, and at that point, shortly thereafter, we would expect to receive that draft? Or certainly before our October meeting?
It depends on the quality that we receive. We definitely want to be in agreement with the director on what stated in that analysis before it's published. So that is what I'm saying. We'll have to see what E2, also known as element environmental, submit with the second draft, incorporating our detailed comments that we provided on September 23rd as scheduled.
You're kind of garbling up, I think, on more than just me. So what I think I heard was we can expect our next meeting is October 23rd.
Can you hear me?
Are you trying to talk?
Government. Yeah.
You entered
6003105.
Deb, you need to mute yourself.
Hello. Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay. What I was saying was that the consultant will present their second draft to our executive team, which is Ramsey, Brenda, Jean, Mike, and I, with the incorporation of our comments. And then at that time, we'll know what the next steps are. But we definitely want what's released to be a good representation of what we asked for in the scope of work. And that represents the solid waste division and any recommendations and financial analysis from E2.
Okay.
So
our next meeting is the 23rd of October, and we are all anxious to see the report and available to comment on drafts if you're ready to take them.
Will do.
So we'll leave it. Thank you, Shalice. Wastewater division projects and updates. Ramsey, Chris, whichever.
I'm sure Chris or Mark, are you guys, Chris, Mark?
Yeah, so as far as our updates, let me pull up our agenda here. So in terms of the Pahala Na'alehu LCC projects, so you know, like you guys see at the draft EA for Na'alehu is out, we're getting comments on that. We're also under design in terms of the wastewater treatment plant and the collection system in the Na'alehu project. We're working on the initial 30% design for that specific project as far as the package plant alternative. With respect to Pahala, we're under design. We're finishing up our 60% on the treatment plant itself. The collection system has already been, the contract for construction is already routing within the county. Funds have been identified, and then that collection system will start to be constructed. As far as the Hilo wastewater treatment plant, rehabilitation, we've, opened the bid. The apparent low bidder came in at $337 million for the base, and then another $30 million for the additive alternative. Currently, we are reviewing the apparent low bid and also determining how we're going to proceed with the additive alternative. As far as the wastewater plans, so we have the integrated wastewater master plan. That plan in itself is a challenge. I mean, there's a lot of things to consider. We're working around the election. We're trying to work within the different different communities to identify the projects and figure out how do we prioritize different things, what level of how are all these things going to balance, where's the funding coming from, what are our connection requirements, what's the schedule. So that plan has definitely turned out to be a challenge, and so we're continuing to work on that. We hope to have a draft. We're looking at we're early, later this fall or early next year, because of the public consultation that will go into, be taken into account for that. And then in terms of, staff, in terms of other projects, we have on the Kona side, we have the Hale'Halavai force main replacement, right? AOC requires us to go to bid on that project January 1 of next year. So I'm finishing up the last, little SMA. It's an internal SMA permit through planning, getting 100% bid documents, hopefully the first week of October. So that project will be shovel ready once funding is identified. The PUA projects are underway. We're just finishing up the PUA projects are moving back to Hilo. So we're looking at the force main replacement and the sewer pump station rehab. Those plans are nearing 90%. We just returned 90% comments on those, and we're looking at getting bid documents and getting those projects shovel ready. They are a little, they have been identified as a little bit later in our AOC, but our hopes is to get design done, get everything finalized, and then, potentially, we could identify some grant funding. So we did get a couple of EPA, congressionally directed spending, identified. So we have our Wanakaka sewer pump station force main project, as well as we have the Wailoa sewer pump station rehab. So we're currently working to identify what specific steps we need to take to ensure that we can get those grants. Because even just because we were identified on the congressional directed spending list, that's a great first step. But then there's a process to actually physically get the funding and actually be able to move forward and complete the project. So off the top of my head, those are all the projects I have. Currently, we have our rate study underway as well. So we're currently finishing up the revenue requirement, and then we'll be looking at the rate structure overall.
We last time, and I put on the agenda, were told we were gonna get a presentation from Corolla. Is that not happening?
No.
No. Okay, well, expect it next time.
Understood.
Along with the issues that you've identified where you believe Kono and other barriers exist to be able to come up with a waste management plan. So I will put that on for next time. One area before we leave, wastewater. I was poking around, unfortunately, just yesterday on the functional equivalent workshops at the state for NPDS, and saw that the last meeting of that group was last week, 17th, 19th, whatever. And that there is a packet online, and I'd ask Peter to please send out the link to that. It kind of summarized where things are going, but if you or Ramsey want to comment on what the impact you think is going to be on Hawaii County.
Yeah, I can comment on that. So first of all, the functional equivalent, the last workshop, the Clean Water Branch proposed just an overall approach. So it's important to understand that currently, the NPDS permits are, the current NPDS permits for our facilities are handled by the Clean Water Branch. But then a lot of the permitting for construction, and permitting for plants that don't have a UIC, an underground injection control, or an NPDS permit are kind of quasi permitted by 1162. And so, you have essentially two agencies involved in some cases at these facilities. So Clean Water Branch came out and they said, okay, what we're going to do for plants that have a risk of, because of various factors, right? They call it the functional equivalency risk. We're going to basically, have the publicly owned treatment plants, get a functional equivalent general permit for POTWs. Then we're going to have another one for the industrial folks. And then we're going to have another one for kind of everything else. And so they're approaching it with a general permit. Oh, sorry, I see a hand raised.
Did you want to ask about this functional equivalent or something before that I ran over you? Unmute. Unmute.
Okay, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting that. You mentioned an exemption from an NPS requirement, but the 1160 something, what was that?
So 1162 are discharge requirements for what we would call DOH facilities. So these are facilities that, they don't have NPDS permits and they don't have injection wells. So rather than individually permitting them, the wastewater branch, right? This is a separate state department of DOH determined, okay, well, we're gonna create, 1162 for kind of overall wastewater compliance as far as the smaller facilities that aren't covered with injection wells or MPDS permits. And so, the county operates, Kealikehe is an 1162 facility. We don't have an injection well. We don't have an MPDS permit. So we're an 1162 facility. And so, basically, what the state is doing is, or the Clean Water Branch, is they create this overall prioritization of risk for all of our, existing wastewater treatment plants that could potentially fall into a functional equivalent, would say scoring or situation where the functional equivalent would be applicable because their effluent would get to surface waters potentially during some duration of undefined time. And so what happens is based upon that risk, then you self-report and get a general permit. And so, but overall, to summarize, the state through Clean Water Branch is looking at approaching functional equivalency for facilities that may not technically qualify for an MPDS permit with a functional equivalent general permit. So as for the impacts to the county, honestly, it is challenging to say at this point because the county will need to understand, where we fall into that functional equivalent risk categorization for POTWs. We need to understand, what the specific requirements from the Clean Water Branch will be. The term that really concerned me from the perspective of a utility operator is compliance schedules. So one thing that I found unique about this general permit is that if you don't meet the conditions of the general permit, they, through that general permit, could give you a compliance schedule. And so, that's something that we have with our NPDS permits at times, is compliance schedules, they, specific improvements that you need to do. So anyway, so that I would say that we're waiting to, better understand. But one thing that was mentioned in that meeting was that Clean Water Branch would be referencing the drinking water standards. So there would be secondary effluent requirements associated with that. So nitrite, nitrate requirements. So, overall, I think it is a positive step in the right direction because we do need to preserve our drinking water, our coastal waters. Although, I'll be looking forward to some clarity from Clean Water Branch in terms of how this is going to implement and the potential changes to my operations. I'm, I did comment a few times in that meeting on, what do I do about my facilities like Bahala and Lehu that are under design? Because I don't want a situation where I get my, approval to operate from DOH wastewater branch, and then I get a compliance schedule with, from Clean Water Branch because we didn't, they didn't explain what we needed to do during design. So we're shifting our design. Ramsey has been really, has a lot of knowledge in this, and he's been hammering on the EPA drinking water standards. And so, we've included that in our design for Pahala, not Lehu, in anticipation of these further requirements. So, you know, it seems like that should hopefully future-proof us against any further requirements from the Clean Water Branch. But at, you know, at this time, without the general permit in front of us, it's hard to tell. So anyway, that's
I
it
appreciate,
for me.
it's mind-boggling. So was there happiness on the part of Earth Justice with what they were talking about?
No, Earth Justice was kind of, I think, frustrated because they don't think that the general permit is applicable in this situation. And you know, so that's their position, that they are not happy with that approach.
So when you're talking about the other category that would get a general permit, is that all the cesspools?
It could be. Possibly septic.
Mhm.
So it's hard to say. But you know, that's another thing that I also commented on in that meeting. I said, you know, a lot of times general permits, they get promulgated to the counties. Yeah, that like you know, and so I said, you know, DOH, you guys need to really consider the level of effort if you're going to push these requirements down to the counties. Make us, you know, police all of the cesspools or police all of the septic or you know, private wastewater treatment plant. I said you really need to iron out the jurisdictions here because, you know, you know, we're not, you know, we don't necessarily want to get into that business. So just because of the staffing and you know, our commitments as a county.
Any questions, comments? Note that Peter did put in the chat the link to the slides. And I'll ask him to also send it as an email, so you've got it. But it's just crazy.
May I ask a question?
You can.
Yeah, so the POTWs with injection wells will still be required to do an NPDS, is that correct?
Well,
They don't
that's
follow, they don't fall under the general plan.
well, they could. So that's the interesting thing about this functional equivalent general permit approach is depending on the risk score of your facility would determine whether you know, are potentially applicable to this functional equivalent general permit. And then the way of it was explained in the meeting is the permit would be in addition to an existing permit. So theoretically, you could have a functional equivalent general permit and an NPDS permit or UIC permit. So
Be functioning under 2 permits at one time?
correct.
Oh, what?
Yeah, and so again, you know, that brought my comments of mechanically, you know, what does that mean for our division? You know, what do we need to do? So anyway,
Well, thank you for that information. That's
yeah.
enlightening. Thank you.
Okay, next item, or I should ask, is there anything else in the wastewater arena you or Ramsey want to cover?
I'll field any questions. I don't have anything specifically Ramsey, do you have anything you?
Just as for public information, because there is a lot of misinformation out there about the Hilo bid. A lot of people think, we should have accepted the first bid because now it's costing twice as much. They don't understand it's totally two different projects. So the people making such a statement, they need to be cognizant of the fact. So just if you hear something, this is the response. It's totally two different projects. It's not one and the same.
So it encompasses more than just what was covered in the last year's bid.
Oh yeah, way more.
Yeah,
The entire
much more.
facility versus one component. That's like replacing your roof or doing your whole house. Two different projects.
I appreciate it and hope you can get that communication to the press. Anything else? And move to vacancies, hires.
The good thing is, as you mentioned last time, we had a HR and she's really came in with experience. So she's working on allocation projects, positions, recruitment. In addition to that, we're working with Department of Human Resource on the reorg for the department to make sure we become more efficient. Consolidation and allow for strength in areas where the strength need to be. So that's moving forward. Vacancies, as you all know, we have almost 30%. The recruitment is going to continue. As far as that is, we're working diligently with the Department of Human Resource through the process and the system to make sure that we could do what we could do to enhance the recruitment and attract candidates. The state has worked with us and they changing the engineering compensation so we could recruit better people, more applicants. We also have worked with DHR to modify the current job classification for civil engineer 1, 2, 3, where right now you don't have to have a civil engineer degree to apply for engineer 1, 2, 3. You could have mechanical engineer, you could have electrical engineer degree. So it doesn't have to be particularly in civil. So that kind of widened our recruitment process. Because technically you don't need to be a civil engineer to enter into the engineering field of engineer 1, 2, 3. And then that will allow you to get your license in the civil engineering profession. So, and hopefully we just did that about a few months ago with Department of Human Resource. They were susceptible to the idea, they did the change. So hopefully now we could, like I said, widen the recruitment to include the entire engineering field.
Great.
With that, number 5, any questions?
Yeah, there were a couple of questions. Lee is right on top of that Wahinu transfer station. If you wanted to explain your question, Lee?
I was wondering when the transfer station was gonna get our chute covered because I see Pahala has a real nice one, and with our transfer station it's open so the wind comes zipping through, and you throw something in, if it's real light, it keeps going. It doesn't go into the bin. So I thought that's a lot of work for the guys that are working at the transfer station have to clean it up. So I was wondering if there are any plans for a chute cover and when we might get one.
There is, Lee, it's under design. My understanding, we sign. I don't know if Mike or Gene on this call, but I remember signing a consultant agreement sometime early this year for them to pursue the design. So the idea they were gonna design canopies over all the chutes, I mean all the bins. So maybe next meeting I'll have Gene or Mike be attending to give you guys an update on the design status of that. But to answer your question, yes.
Georgine,
Was that Dell? Sorry.
did we take any questions for number 4 on the staffing?
No, I didn't see, were you raising your hand?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I understood. I understood that there were. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I understand there was a position posted for a chief, and there was one candidate. So I'm just wondering what happened to that candidate, because do we still have 3 positions vacant, both chiefs and deputy chief for wastewater?
The chief that you talked about was posted, solid waste chief. We still on determine the negotiation. We're gonna give him a letter, official letter pretty soon. The wastewater division chief, we have the current acting chief, but the wastewater, as I mentioned, is gonna be reorged, the whole department. So you're gonna have totally different structure for the wastewater to be able to accommodate the east and west side. And also, we're gonna have an engineering division that particularly concentrate on capital projects, so it doesn't take away from the operation of wastewater to get involved into, the design, construction, maintenance, all that. So we creating different division to the right people and classification. That way, better efficiency and performance. We cannot continue the status quo because we'll be following the same thing we've fallen in over the last 30 years.
Do you have an anticipated date as to when this can happen?
We working with DHR. We already informed the union, so we're gonna try to consolidate meetings. As you know, it's a process. We have to work with all entities, stakeholders, to be able to do that transition. Wastewater should do what the solid waste does, concentrate on operation. Engineering should be given to engineers rather than, mucky the water. So, and I think that will give all staff clear expectation. So it's a matter of just getting, other departments, and we need to do the consultation and what have is. We just have to follow the process.
So I asked.
We already have shared that, the layouts and the vision. So we're working on implementation, hopefully.
Thank you. I asked last time about the asset management implementation plan or the plan that you folks have within the county. So when I looked at it, I noticed that for the specific tasks regarding collection system spill responses, the responsible parties are the division chief and deputy chief. And this report was submitted to the EPA. So I'm just saying, I don't know how long it's going to take before we get someone in there so that these reports would be more accurate.
Well, even if under the new org, still be the division chief, but it won't be required to have a licensed engineering. That's all. I mean, he's still gonna have the same title, but different job duties. But
I know.
licensing won't be required. So the structure for the wastewater would still have a division chief, but the requirement would be less stringent than what we have now because you cannot recruit. So we trying to rebrand and we trying to open the recruitment to more candidates without restriction of these licensing and of engineering. If they're gonna do operation, that's what they're gonna do. The licensing for engineers should be in the engineering division, not the operation.
No, I appreciate that explanation. I'm just saying, when this is done, and for a while now, there is no division chief or deputy chief to make these decisions. So I'm talking about the spill that just happened. So this is the thing that concerns me. We don't have the people that should be where they are, making decisions that should be made. And yet we're providing these reports that are, granted, I know these people are the ones responsible to make the decisions, but there haven't been one to make these kinds of decisions for a while. So,
well, we have the acting division chief. They still have the responsibility of a chief.
So with the 30% that you mentioned, how many people does that equate to?
That's the entire department. That's 86 vacancies, solid waste, wastewater, abandoned vehicle, accounting. That's for the entire department.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Nope.
Our last question, and I'll admit I may have missed, I think you were talking about the PUA force main installation, Chris? That was your question, Del. Did you get that answered?
No, but it's okay. We can bring it up next time. Because I think, it may fall under the historic preservation.
Is there a
consideration.
specific question with respect to 106 or 6E that you?
No, not
have?
specific to that. What I read was Kilkaha or the Pua pump station would fall under, or could potentially fall under that act or that section 106. So would special consideration be given because of that?
Well, are you saying that those facilities are in terms of they're historic, or I'm just not sure what you mean by special consideration?
Well, they're gonna install and rehabilitate that area, yes.
Correct.
So before they do that, and with all the work and things that go into that cost, the work, and the effect it would have to the Kilkaha community, is there special consideration because it's on Hawaiian homelands?
Yes.
And it could be deemed historical?
So we're going through the applicable 6E and 106 consultation processes. So, once those determinations are made, then we'll have some more information. But we did do the biology we looked at Avion, we looked at, historic, artifacts and cultural impacts. As far as, the consultation, but it's within, it is within existing easements and previously disturbed ground. So, because the area near Pua Sewer Pump Station is where the old treatment plant used to be. And then we have the force main that was put in within our existing easement. And so the proposal is to install a parallel force main, and then also to rehabilitate the inside of the pump station, as well as add a surge protection tank and a new stairwell, and above ground fuel tank to the outside of the station. So the work will stay within our existing fence line at the pump station.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I'd like to take a tour of it too.
Oh, okay.
Thank
That
you.
could be arranged.
Thank you,
Okay.
Chris.
Are there any other questions for DEM? Another marathon meeting. Thank you guys for hanging in there. Any other last comments, questions you want to throw out at us, Ramsey? Oh, I see Lee's
I
got his,
see a hand.
Lee?
Yeah, this is Commissioner McIntosh. I was wondering, what does the county do with all those tires they collected at I guess it was the 21st?
Greg, you still on? Greg?
Yeah. Let's see, hold on. What was the question again?
What does the county do with all of the tires that they collected?
Yeah, so I think part of it, I think most of it gets sent out and it gets burnt at a for energy. I think I'm pretty sure it's going to Korea. But I can find
Okay.
out though. And it gets used for burnt at their power plants.
All right.
Okay. Back to you, Ramsey, if you had any more for us.
No, thank you as always. Great questions, great discussions, complex issues, but I want to just give kudos to our staff. We know we short staff, but every one of them going the extra mile. It's not easy to deliver on these projects and to create the proper right foundation. The department had accomplished so much from structure and from building the right foundation with all these master plans that we're working on and kind of set the stage forward. So we still, the momentum is still ahead of us. It's not an easy ride, but usually once you have a strong foundation, you can start building on it with confidence. So I'm glad to see Hilo was bid out competitively. We have literally 4 bidders and 1 was non-responsive, but we got 3. And that kind of give you an idea of competitive process create a better bidding amount. And I think that was our strategy from day one to rebid it because it just did not make sense to pay $70 million on $100 million project versus paying the same $60 million on a $200 million project. So the percent went from 70% to 25%. That's a major saving to the taxpayers. And that was the intent and the strategy from and the thoughts went into why should we rebid it. And we did end up saving taxpayers money by rebidding the project. Because we paid actually less than the 70% to do the base bid. Actually came $60 million over the base bid. So better than $70 million over $100 million, right? So it's a major savings. But yeah, you know, you guys keep us going with your questions, so that's great. I appreciate it.
Okay, and I promise I'll work with Peter and we'll package up the motions that we made so that we're clear. And DEM, well, is the recipient of some of the motions, but certainly be copied on what we send to council. So I'm gonna move on future agenda items. We have several items that we deferred. I'll be picking up on those again. As always, if you guys have anything you want us to cover, whether it's DEM or commissioners, let me know and we'll try to pull it into the agenda. Our next meeting is October 23rd in Kona. And that's all from me. Once again, 3-hour meetings. Thank you.
Georgine, sorry, one thing. Wastewater Division has indicated that they're unable to attend next month's meeting after 10 o'clock. So can you look at other dates?
Oh, okay. Pull up your calendars.
Okay. I mean, not now, but
okay. I'll let you. We're scheduled for the 23rd of October. So look and see what you've got that week. So that since I deferred our presentation from Corolla and expect progress on the pretreatment and wastewater codes. So yeah, we need time for wastewater rather than trying to jam everything into 20 minutes at the beginning of our meeting. So respond to Peter and his request for reschedule as soon as you can so we can get that nailed. Anything else, Peter?
What I have so far.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to go have lunch?
I move.
Who's buying?
You are, Ramsey. No. With all our money. No.
Yeah, I know.
Only if there's a
Erica,
second.
I'll buy you lunch next time I see you.
There's some Mac nuts in Pahala. Did I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay. No seconds. All right, everybody.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. As always, good participation.